Chief Master Instructor Kenny Smith with Total Force Training Group. I've tried to make this video twice already tonight. This makes 3. Made it in a way I didn't like the first time. This is my fault. Second time, a friend of mine interrupted me. So if not, this is going to wait another half hour and come tomorrow. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking earlier today, you know, I've said some things about open carry that, although I still agree with, apply just as much to concealed carry. So we're going to talk about some things. What can you do to better improve your odds of a weapon, of coming out of a weapon snatch or preventing one as a whole? First and foremost, if you carry openly, you are more likely to be exposed to a weapon snatch. We all know that. That's common sense. How many police officers have had their weapon snatched in a uniform holster? Many of them throughout history. So we can't say it doesn't happen. And to say it doesn't happen is absolutely foolish. Alright? Understanding that it can happen to an open carrier, we have to look at that. Even if you carry concealed, it could still happen. Because, I'm going to cover up this really right here. Say I'm in Walmart and I need to get something off top shelf. Pretty open to me, right? I mean, concealed, not no more. There are some states that just that little bit right there is the same as open carry. So, you have to keep that in mind, that it can happen even if you're concealed. So we're going to start talking about some things that may become an issue. I was talking to a cousin of mine today who carries openly. He doesn't have a concealed carry permit. He doesn't really want one, which is cool. It's his prerogative. I'm not going to say there's a strategic advantage to open carry. I don't see one. But I will say that given the appropriate training, and a lot of people are going to say this is common sense, and you'd be amazed how many people with common sense think this is common sense and then go take a course in it just to get a credit for something and realize it's so much more than that. First thing we're going to start with is understanding the difference between situational awareness and surveillance detection. Situational awareness versus surveillance detection. There are people that will tell you, if you're in condition yellow, you'll notice the snatch coming ahead of time. Sounds good. Doesn't quite stack up. And the reason for that is because even with their head on a swivel, even if I'm moving it quick enough where I'm covering things where a threat might not have the ability to maneuver, then I'm moving it too quick to recognize the threat. If I'm using my ears, well, if I'm using my ears, that ain't doing me much good because my ears ain't worth a damn. But, you know, you still have to confirm what it is. So you have to actively be looking for surveillance. Surveillance can come in many forms from many different parties. The reason I'm using open carry in this instance is not as a whipping boy, like someone's probably going to say, because I've said some pretty heated things about open carry that I'll tell you right now I still do agree with. I'm saying it because it is more likely to attract surveillance. Surveillance can come from routine. Could be a off-duty police officer who's used to keying up on people with guns. You know, you can't. That's a survival instinct. You certainly can't fault that. It could be someone who doesn't think guns are as cool as I do, and they're watching it to make sure you're not going to go crazy. It could be you're in like certain areas where not too many good people walk around with guns, open or concealed, so they may be looking at you for a bit more serious. Maybe a police officer looking at you for something serious. Maybe a concern. Maybe a concealed carry permit holder looking at you for something a bit more serious. Didn't say you're going to get shot. I said you're going to get looked at. And then there's the other option, the criminal. Okay? When criminals see a weapon carried, they see 3 things, or one of 3 things. Maybe a combination thereof, but usually one of 3 things. They either see something stopping them from committing their actions, a hindrance to committing their actions that they're not going to let stop them, or target. The target might not necessarily be you. Could be that. Because if I know that I want to knock over somebody, that right there will go a long way with helping me. Alright, weapon is clear. Set this mag and loose round off to the side right quick. Okay. But, being legally armed, all of us have weapons that will come back to us. Okay? If my gun is used in a crime, this one's going to come back to me. The one that I've inherited will come back to me. All right, if they're found. So now, if say I get some of the excess oil off right there. All right. Anyway, that was annoying me. But if I want to use this gun in a crime, for whatever reason, I know for a fact that I can't just dump it because this nifty serial number plate and these serials here and here, well, there and there, are going to come back to moi. But if I'm a criminal and I see someone carrying a weapon, I might not necessarily want to kill them. But there have been cases of police officers getting ambushed, not for the sake of killing them, but just for the sake of knocking them out to take their gun. It's happened. Masa Ayoob has wrote spilled probably gallons of ink on the subject. Not just that happening to police officers, but gun snatches are something he's wrote a lot about. All right. Now, what else? Maybe there have been street gangs, and as a matter of fact, I know this for a fact. There have been some street gangs that use people with guns as targets for initiation because, you know, the prospect puts in work or, you know, the prospect or the little homie, whoever, they put in work and, you know, the gang gets something they can flip or something they can use later. So, I mean, it's there. It does happen. The same thing applies when I'm carrying concealed. Maybe they saw my gun, all right? But when I'm carrying it open, there's nothing obstructing it, all right? This is not an anti-open carry. This is just a common sense, and same does apply full force to concealed carry. Concealed is a bit more forgiving in this instance. So let's look at things. The criminal who sees this as a deterrent, if word gets out that he was deterred, now he's got a beef. Okay, so that in the criminal world, respect is everything, and you don't want to be the one known as a bitch. All right, that's not conducive to success in that realm. So, you know, they can't afford that. There are some that will see that and will target you. And okay, you know, let's say for example, I'm holding this place up. That cat's got a gun. Well, I got to take him out first. That has happened in the past to both police officers and civilians. Whether I carry and this is where it happens with concealed carry. You let someone know, or someone somehow has found out, and they say, "Oh my God, you have a gun. Do something." What was that? Pop. Problem solved. Criminal sees it. Oh, he's got a gun. Bang. Problem solved. I don't care how fast you are. Bill Jordan himself would have trouble outdrawing an already drawn gun. Even if you're shooting from the hip, you're moving that far, clearing that barrel. I'm moving at least 4.5 inches to clear that barrel. Well, how long is that? About 3/4 of an inch or so? If that. You ain't gonna do it. Okay? Now, obviously, if they're moving, and yeah, you got options, but if the weapon's already on you for whatever reason, you're not gonna outdraw it. Whether you're open or concealed. You stand a better chance if you're open because you don't have to pull a garment out of the way of getting the gun out. But there again, the criminal side of, you know, the gun itself on your person being directly targeted isn't so much a big deal. It happens, so it certainly can't be ignored. The biggest issues that I see are B&E and snatches, straight up snatch. You know, there are people that will walk up and snatch a purse off a woman's arm. Don't think for a second they're not going to try and take your gun off your hip. And for that reason, this right here is my favorite on-the-belt holster. It was made by Eddie Berry at Oak Leather. Great holster, nice and stiff. Holds my gun great. I mean, there's no retention on it. I mean, it's a well-made holster. If I was going to carry openly, this stays at the house because it's an open top. There's no retention on it. All right. My favorite concealed carry holster is this little booger right here. I made this myself. You know, there's no resistance to it whatsoever. I'll be damned if I'm going to carry this without concealing it. You know what I mean? It'll barely support the gun's own weight. All right, it's not made for that. It's made to be very small, keep the weapon tight to me, and be barely there. That's all it's made for. Now, Now this is not a rig I'm particularly fond of. I've made some improvements on it to make it tolerable. This is a cheap Galco paddle light, and I put a insert in there. All that insert is the Kydex holster I made a few years ago that I jacked up, cut the belt loops off, trimmed it up, rammed it down in there. Now I got me a little something. Now, I don't like paddle holsters. The only reason I threw this on was strictly for demo in this video, because this is as close to a holster I would recommend for open carry as I own at the moment. Paddles are usually a no-go because if you get the gun snatched and the holster is still on the gun, but the holster is not on your body, do you still have the gun? No, you don't. There are people that will defend the Serpa holster to no end. It's like, well, during a gun snatch, when the gun's grabbed, the holster comes up, the holster might separate. Okay, yeah, I know that. But the gun's still in the holster worked. No, dumbass, the holster didn't work. The retention system worked. The holster failed miserably. Okay? And it's not just the Serpa. The last time I've heard that was with the Serpa. The Phobos paddle holsters are bad about that too. Hell, I broke a Phobos paddle holster working on a draw. So, and they're not bad holsters, but anything can fail. The biggest thing with a paddle of any form is when you go to grab it, if you move it in the right way, it may very well come out. And now you lost your weapon. You've lost your weapon. If they're just looking to steal your weapon and not looking to fight you over it, they steal it and take off. You better hope you're fast enough to catch them. Straight up. If we're going to draw your backup gun, shoot them in the back, that's going to play out well for you. Learn how to retain your weapon. Use a good solid belt holster that can't be pulled off, or like I did, I cut a few extra barbs in the bottom of this paddle holster. All I did was I took a jigsaw and I cut me some U-shaped notches, cut 2 more, folded them out there. So they're actually angled up about like, if this is the surface of the paddle, they're angled up about like that, so it's a really aggressive grab. This paddle will actually retain without my belt on. I'm better with it now. I'm not saying I'm fond of it. But get a holster that'll stay on your body. Next thing, get a thumb brake strap at the least. Thumb brake is less desirable than some of the more modern locking systems like the Safariland ALS, which I cannot recommend highly enough. The Galco Auto Lock. The DeSantis has their facilitator that I know a friend who carries. He likes a lot. And the 511 thumb drive. Thumb drive's a nice holster. I do not consider the Serpa acceptable at all because if you get grime, dust, dirt, crap like that, or small pebbles, stuff like that inside the locking mechanism of the Serpa holster, you may go to draw your weapon and nothing happens. It's not the NDs that I have a problem with them. It's sometimes the Serpa retention mechanism works a little bit better than it should. That's what I have a problem with. The next thing to work on, when you get that strap or whatever, people will tell you eventually. And the funny thing is, all the people that I have met that have told me that thumb brake system or locking system or whatever will slow you down, there's only been 2 camps. There's been no middle ground. One, there's been the 500-pound donut chomping gun shop commando that has to lift his fat roll to get to his gun anyway. Or number 2, the people who've never carried a gun for a living but have shot competition for a long time. I have nothing against competition shooting, but make no mistake, when properly trained on how to use it and practicing enough, the thumb brake is no slower than an open top. Right? What slows people down is people that don't understand the concept. They get a good grip on this strap and they try to push it inboard with the tip of their thumb. No, don't do that at all. Put your thumb on top of the gun as you're coming straight down on that good grip and push straight through it. Alright? It's not going to slow you down at all. Now, the second thing that people have issues with is they'll just push it a little bit and they don't realize, move a little closer so you can hopefully see this, that I'm actually holding that strap. When you go to break a thumb brake, push all the way through. There's no slow down at all. Just make your knife hand, push straight down, and it breaks right clean for you. Okay? The Safariland ALS works the same way. Push straight down on it and it'll come right out. 511 thumb drive, faster. Actually, to be honest with you, if I was going to open carry today and not carry a weapon light, 511 thumb drive would probably be the holster I put on because that button is impossible in this. ALS conceals a bit better, but in my opinion, but I think the thumb drive's a bit faster. So you should have a retention system. I've already discussed that. Is it slower? Yeah. We're talking micro and millisecond there, though. I mean, really is. If you miss it, you miss it, but you're going to miss that draw on anyway. Push straight down and through. All right? And I'll be honest, I'm probably not the best guy to be demonstrating a thumb brake. And the reason for that is I usually don't carry one. I usually carry concealed. All right? Is it a good idea to have something like that? Yeah. But when I'm carrying concealed, especially now I'm carrying appendix, I've got belt tension and the like that. Plus, I'm sitting in a position where there's less snag hazards. Why is the thumb brake so important? Well, obviously, if someone tries to snatch your weapon, they've got something to disengage. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. The biggest thing is accidental exposure. Is your weapon considered snatched if it falls out of your holster at the restaurant and homeboy picks up and runs with it? Yeah, it's snatched because you ain't got it no more. Okay? You have not retained your weapon. All right? Now, back on the surveillance detection side, whether you're carrying concealed or open, you sit down at the restaurant and you hear click, 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 and that's remarkably familiar Glock 22 with Crimson Trace laser grips, an M3, and Trijicon night sight staring up at you, and you're 19 years old in a state that don't allow concealed carry of any form, or it didn't at the time, let me rephrase. There's this remarkably familiar gun standing at you. Oh, that state is not fond of high-capacity magazines either, and there's a 15-round magazine in there. Yeah, that actually happened to me, by the way. I was carrying behind the hip in a Blackhawk? No, it wasn't Blackhawk. It was Uncle Mike's. Uncle Mike's nylon inside the waistband holster, and I moved wrong, and this remarkably familiar pistol looking right back up at me. Fell out. I've since learned where an actual gun belt cinch it down tight enough to hold the weapon, and by moving appendix, it's less likely to happen. So we're in the restaurant or whatever. Maybe the gun doesn't fall out, but it adjusts. Now we have to adjust our holster. Are there ways to do that? Sure, but it attracts attention to the gun. That's even if you're carrying open, you don't want to attract eyes to it. Because the people that are carrying the gun, hey, look at me, those are the type of people that give the rest of us carrying guns a bad name. All right? Like this dude who wanted to do the march up in D.C. Really? You're going to take a bunch of guns that are illegal in that area and go march it through? That was never going to go anywhere good. I'm going to go ahead and say that now. You know what? He was just asking for attention. And you know what? Last I heard, he's in jail, so I hope he's enjoying his attention. But, that might not be true. That's just like I said, I saw somewhere that he was in jail. Anyway, you don't want to attract attention to your weapon because one of three things are going to happen. Well, four. One of them is good. And five, if you're my cousin. My cousin actually got hit on because some chick noticed he was open carrying the other day. Crazy as hell. But I thought she was going to bitch at him. Kind of funny, but it was entertaining, to say the least. But here we sat in 2013, and it's a very divided house when it comes to guns. There's a lot of people who are like me, and hopefully you all, and love them. There's a lot of people who want them gone. So the odds of getting that are pretty slim. Now, the odds of getting someone that just comes up and wants to talk to you about it, well, if they're from our camp, then you can get away with things. If they're not from our camp, because I can, probably not the best thing to tell them as to why you're carrying. Because it's a constitutional right is a little bit better. Now, when that person is a police officer, that is not a time to start lecturing them about your rights. All right? Be compliant. Do what they ask. They have a job to do. And I'll be honest with you, 99% of the police officers that I've met don't want to harass you for legally carrying any more than you want them bothering you for it. So if you start acting, the worst thing you can say if they say, why are you carrying? Honestly, most likely, it's probably just do you have a fear we need to help you with? This is how I've taken it from most police officers I know of that, they say, yeah, if I see someone carrying, I'll ask them why. And I was like, okay, well, what brought that on? Well, maybe there's something maybe if they're carrying that gun for a reason, I either A, need to stop it, or B, need to stop them from stopping it. That's something to think about. They might be, doing the job and looking out for public good. If you're legitimately at risk enough to think you need a weapon, then there's a difference between think you need a weapon and carry a weapon because you're legally authorized to do so. If I'm going somewhere where I think I need my weapon, I try to adjust my travel. I don't want to need this thing. I'd rather have it and not need it, but I don't want to need it. Tracking here. Now, the other option is if they ask you why and you respond, because I can. I would like to ask every police officer on here how many times you've responded to a domestic abuser. When asked why, their response was because I can. I know no shortage of police officers that hear that every shift. Because I can. Why'd you do it? Because I can. Why'd you rob the place? Because I could. Why'd you beat your wife? Because I can. Why'd you beat your brother? Because I can. Why'd you rob him? Because I can. Why'd you shoot him? Because I could. You know, they hear it all the time. Now, what are all these people have in common? They are criminals. So now you're making yourself look like a criminal, and your encounter, since the open carry community uses that term, is going to start going downhill quick. Okay? So don't attract attention to it, and if you do get attention, be civil. Be civil. Yeah, teach and educate, that's cool, that's great, but do it in a professional manner. You're representing the rest of us. All right? So, the three things that I've covered so far, obviously you can get me the 1 in a million and be my cousin and get hit on for carrying a gun. 2, you can have someone come up, maybe, you know, and, you know, I've seen this happen with the same cousin. Hey, you carrying Smith? You know, stuff like that. Maybe you got someone who's a gun guy or gal wanting to just shoot the shit. Maybe find out about your hardware, find out about your holster. Maybe you got someone that is interested and just want to see that, you know, we're not all gun-toting evil rednecks. You know, gun-toting, yeah, but evil rednecks, no, I'm a redneck, but I'm not evil anymore. Then you get number 4. You get the person that doesn't want you to have it and wants to make a scene. Don't give them ammunition. Be civil. Let them be the asshole. And you get number 5. All right. By the way, 3 and 4 could be a police officer as well. You could be a police officer who has no issue with it. Maybe it's one just doing his job. So I'll say there's 6. 4 is a police officer. You have a police officer who's looking to do his job. He's, you know, hey, you got a weapon, we need to talk to you, are you okay? Stuff like that. Why are you carrying it? Those are all legitimate questions. Be compliant, be civil. It's amazing how well those 2 things work. Be compliant, be civil. If I had a buck for every speeding ticket I got out of just by being compliant and civil and not trying to talk my way out of it, I wouldn't have to work. I'm telling you, I used to have a lead foot like a mother. I mean, well, I'm sure being in a military town and the military stickers in the back of my vehicle helps a lot. But anyway, be polite, be civil, be compliant. It goes a long way. And further, if that police officer maybe is one of those that don't want you to have a gun, if you don't give him a reason to take you to jail, you got a pretty good chance that he won't. Okay? Unless it's like a very dirty officer, you're probably okay. All right? And number 5 is the criminal. It's the criminal. And they see the gun. They come up. They may act like one of the above. But they either see this as a threat, either to their mission, to their level of respect in the hood, or as a target. Now, there's an individual in this area, not exactly local, but not exactly out of town either. Well known for open carry. Very well known for open carry. All right, he came to a local park. You know, local to him, not to me. Oh, there's an ordinance. You can't carry in the park. Period. No, don't matter. Permit, open, concealed. Nope, no go. Okay, you can go for a ride in the park. He knew where he was going. He knew it was a no-go. Left his gun in the house. He come home. Or not home, rather, but he come back to his car. Window was busted. Car was open. Been rummaged through. You know, I'd be willing to bet I knew what that criminal was looking for. Considering I also happen to know that this man carries Glock 17, he's probably looking for one of these. All right, just with a different serial number than mine. And a little bit older. Well, do you think that if someone sees you carrying it here, and they've associated you have this, when they want it, do you think they won't come after it? What about your home, your family? Same thing. Think they won't break into your house for it? County Sheriff's Office here, not that long ago, not recent, but not that long ago either, arrested a bunch of guys that went to people's houses of people they knew that had guns, and that's all they saw was guns, and obviously set up immediately a value right there. It happened. And does that mean that if you're open carry, bad stuff's going to happen? No, it can happen to a concealed carry practitioner just as easily as it could an open carry practitioner. You know, like I said, I've got the gun concealed. Maybe I'm in Walmart. Home, you know, thug sees me reach up for something on the shelf. You know, I bend over to get something. You know, I'm wearing a loose button-down shirt. Some people don't. Things right up. They see your weapon. They see it. You know, so surveillance detection comes into if you notice someone that appears to be watching or following you for for an extended period of time. Obviously, you know, it's one thing if someone just turns up in the same place a few times, but when it starts to become a very obvious thing, you need to start letting your spider sense start tingling. So, whether you carry openly or concealed, be on the lookout for people looking at you. Carrying a weapon, you're already watching people. Anybody that carries a weapon and doesn't watch people, no, that doesn't happen. Because 90% of the people I know, good people, I should say, the good people I know carrying weapons, they're people watchers. You know, they're walking around, they're looking for that person that has that look in their eye like they're up to no good. You know, they're looking for those gang colors, gang tat. You know, they're looking for target indicators, which we've discussed earlier. So if you are already watching people, why don't you start looking for people that might be watching you? Okay? This video isn't to cause fear. This is to do three things. Number one is to raise awareness. There are people that think, I carry a gun, nothing's going to happen to me. Bullshit. Bad things may happen to you because you carry a gun. Alright? You have to understand that. Number two, when I carry this, if someone is trying to grab it and they want it, pulling it out of the holster is probably not a good idea. Okay? Probably best to learn some weapon retention skills so that it never has to come out of the holster. Think about it like this. Would you rather do the paperwork for beating the crap out of somebody or breaking their arm when they were trying to steal your gun, or would you rather do the paperwork for shooting them? Just saying. I would rather do the paperwork for beating the shit out of them, personally. You know, certainly they're trying to take my weapon. I have no reason to believe that, you know, they're going to take my weapon and take me to Denny's. You know, they're probably going to take my weapon and blow my head off to keep me from telling somebody about it. Or nothing else, go track star and blow somebody else's head off so it comes back to me and not them. You know, I mean, yeah, I'd certainly rather take the paperwork for beating the crap out of them. But learn weapon retention. Whether you carry open or you carry concealed, learn weapon retention. And the last thing is situational awareness means you're responsive to threats. You're looking for threats. Threats is the operative word. Start looking for things that are looking for you. Now, going past surveillance detection into counter surveillance. If you can, try not to be predictable. That's the biggest thing. You know, am I saying everybody who carries a weapon has someone looking to steal their weapon? No. But if you know that you have a set routine and you go to the grocery store every Saturday at 9 in the morning, every Saturday is fine, but go at 10 this week. Nope, it's Memorial Day. Go Friday. Go at 10 next week. Go at 8 the week after. Mix things up a little bit. It makes whoever, if you detect someone surveilling you, alright, you have to understand that it could be one of a few things. It could be the police. That's why I'm not going to go into too terrible much detail, because I don't want some criminal to see this. And they probably already know it, but the last thing I want is to give the one that doesn't know it something. Now, if it's the police surveilling you, you've got a lot more to worry about than a gun snatch, because most of the time when police start surveilling people, it's because they did a very bad thing. The other option is really nothing good. So, you know, keep your eyes open and be unpredictable is the biggest thing. Don't lure yourself into a rut if you can, and watch your six 24/7, 365. If something don't look right, it probably ain't. It don't necessarily mean it's clear to go into just to blasting people, but I'll talk on other videos about doing an SDR, surveillance detection route. You know, you got to make a right turn up. How about go a little block down and make 3 lefts? You know, you get in the same place, and if someone follows you through 1 turn, okay. 2, this is getting fishy. 3, something ain't right about this house. So, you know, just kind of keep in mind that the bad guys stalk their prey too. They are predators, all right? And you're hard-pressed to find a predator, ambush or not, that does not stalk their prey for some period of time. Now, we like to think that because we carry a gun, we're automatically the sheepdog. But let me tell you something. Just because a sheepdog can kill a wolf, don't mean the wolf don't sometimes go after the dog first. All right? Whether you're a police officer, whether you're in the military, whether you work in security, whether you're just a civilian carrying for whatever reason, learn how to retain your weapon and understand that that person that looks like they're following you might be following you to take what's on your hip. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit off the books from what I usually do, but it's just something I've been thinking about and thought I'd share it with everybody. Hope all y'all stay safe, watch your six, and if you can't be good at it.